I'm basically going to create a tutorial on how we've set everything up on the charts here. And we'll try to set this up with one prop firm account and set up a strategy. Or I'll set it up with two, actually. I think I have some Apex accounts that I'm willing to take some risk on. And we'll see if there's an actual trade to take. So what I want to do is clean up my charts. I'm gonna eliminate all of my alerts, and we're basically going to build a new strategy from the ground up with some rules in mind, and we'll connect a couple of prop firm accounts to it, and we'll show how to build all this from the ground up. So let's delete all of these regression trends, long positions, all this can go. We will keep those, and I'm going to hide the old trading lines. We're going to make some new ones. And I also want to turn off my alerts. This one's not helpful either. Pause these. Okay. And then we'll turn off, I guess we'll leave VWAP on. We'll turn off the sessions and the EVWAP and the previous day high and low. I'm just trying to get the charts as clean as possible so that there's not a lot of noise here. Anytime somebody's learning something new and you've got 900,000 things on your chart, they're like, what am I looking at? Okay, so now it's super clear, just VWAP. This is pretty easy to see. Anything else I need to clean up on here, Tom, you think?
No, that looks fine.
All right, yeah, one thing I will remove, let's pull the P&L off the chart here. Just me and you. And then what I'm going to do is make a new strategy here. How's the font size? Looking good? A little larger?
It does. I'm thinking maybe we should put ourselves...
You want to do it that way?
Just so we see more of the screen. I want to see more of the screen.
Okay. Does that work?
I'm just testing it out here. 1 second.
Okay. I can also widen my screen so we can get rid of those vertical bars.
It's just small. We're not getting much of a difference here.
Yeah. Here, let me make this a little bit wider. That'll fill that in a little bit better. There we go. Okay. And then you and I are on the right. Okay, cool. All right, so here's the plan. We are going to put some lines on the chart. We're going to talk about how to set up the alerts and how to create the strategy, how to create some rules. But let me start with the actual strategy that we're going to set up here. So this is what we're going to call strategy 1. And let me see the text size that'll make sense here. So strategy 1, this is going to be either long or short and exit separately. So what that means is I want to enter a position long on MNQ from the NQ chart. And I do something that's a little different than you might expect here. I trade the price action from NQ, but it's trading MNQ separately. And that's because the liquidity is a little bit different on NQ than it is MNQ. It's a little bit more clear. There's a lot more institutional flow. So the real price signal is coming from the NQ chart. And then we're going to trade the MNQ ticker on this first strategy. So I'm going to put here, strategy 1 is MNQ long or short. And what I'm doing right now is just trying to define how my entries and exits work so that we know how we need to actually set this up on TradersPost. So I'm going to drag a line down on price, which is going to be my entry order. And I'm going to have some rules about what kind of position size that I want to take, but that's going to be defined separately. And then I'll have a separate line for exiting. So let's make the lines right now. I'll make one line for my long. This will be green. And then I'll make another line for my short, and this will be red. So that's a short line. This is a long line. Right now, all I'm doing is hitting Alt-H on the keyboard in order to create the line. And then I can copy it and paste it on the chart as well. Once I've created a line, I can just do Control-C, Control-V. So this last line is going to be a white line, and this will be my exit line. and that helps me go long or short. Now, one quirk of TradingView is if you make an alert off of a line, you can, let me actually just show you. If I make an alert off of a line and I say price is crossing this horizontal line, one of the first things I need to do is make sure that the trigger is set to only once. That way, once it triggers, it disables the alert and it doesn't risk me taking an additional position right away. Instead, it just ends the alert and then waits for me to reactivate that alert in order to send another signal. So then I'm going to use the message box to fill in my JSON message for what trades should be taken, and I'm going to send that to a webhook URL on TradersPost. But I'm going to show you how to do that separately in just a moment. So we've got a long line, a short line, and an exit line. This will be our first strategy to test right off the bat. On my chart, I'm on the 1 minute chart. It doesn't really matter what time frame you're on. You could be on the 2 hour, 1 day chart. We're just looking at price crosses. So there's nothing that is time bound here around the strategy itself or how the lines actually function. So now what we're going to do is make the strategy according to the rules that we need to set up. So we're going to do MNQ strategy, asset classes futures. I'm a discretionary trader, so I'll check that box. And there's really nothing else here that really matters to most people, so we'll go ahead and skip this part. You'll get to a screen here that basically is the settings for your new strategy and how those settings should be applied to every account that you connect to the system. So you are going to want to apply these default settings to all new strategy subscriptions. The way that TradersPost works is you essentially have your signals. Your signals are going to come from a place like TradingView. You'll have a strategy. The strategy is the place where you send all of those signals, and it includes the webhook URL. And then you have subscriptions, and subscriptions are individual account connections to that strategy that have their own set of rules, and they can draw those rules from the default template that we're working on right now. So I'm going to run through some of the subscription details here. That'll be bullish and bearish for this strategy. I don't need to worry about any of this. That's not really relevant to my particular strategy, but we do have lots of documentation on how some of these other advanced features work. I'm not going to worry about a trading window because I kind of manage the trading window myself by knowing when to be in and out of the market. I'm not sending automated signals here either. This is fully discretionary, so I don't have to worry about some of the automation there. But position size is very important to me. I'm going to go ahead and change this to a fixed quantity of 1 and ignore the incoming signal quantity. That means that even if I set the quantity in the JSON message to send to TradersPost, it's going to ignore that and use the defined quantity here. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want to manually control the position size in each account depending on the drawdown size that's available. If you don't want to do that and you just want to trade the same size in all accounts, you can certainly just change this back to the default empty amount, make sure signal quantity is on, and you can just use whatever quantity you define in your message. You can also use a signal quantity multiplier so that on larger accounts, you can take an incoming quantity of 1 and multiply it by 2. That can be really useful as well. In my case, I have no interest in doing that. I've found that setting the fixed quantity helps me keep that number defined, and then I can keep track of it over time as well. I won't worry about cancels. On the entry order type, I'm going to switch this to market. That way markets actually get filled, market orders get filled instead of limit. And then on the exit order type, I'm going to change that to market as well.
What about for the position size, the allow add to position? Do you usually keep that off or on?
Thank you very much, Tom. So when I let go of the line and an alert gets triggered, and then I pick it up and I drop it again on the next price, that's going to allow me to add another position in. So I need to make sure that my subscription allows for adding to the position. So we're going to go back to the position size panel. Let me close these other ones. We'll go back to position size, and I'm going to enable allow add to position. That way, if I send another signal to buy another set amount of quantity, it can add to that existing position that's there. All right, one last one to cover is I am not setting a take profit or stop loss on this strategy. That's because I'm managing the position with lines alone, and I don't need to worry about having a take profit or stop loss because I'm going to use my exit line as my take profit or my stop loss. Then finally, there's this retry section. Occasionally, Tradovate does do weird things. Something will happen during the trade execution phase and it won't go through properly. So I do have max retries set to 1. So if something fails, it will retry 1 additional time and then it will stop trying after that. All right, I'm going to save this and I'm going to connect it to my Apex eval account. You'll see all of my prop firm accounts have already been connected to TradersPost here. And then I have some live brokers that are connected as well. But I'm going to choose the one Apex eval account that I wanted to connect, and I'll have another one that I connect in a moment here. So when I create that connection, you'll see that all the settings that we ran through together are automatically set here, the position size, the entry order type, so on and so forth. We just copied those settings from the default settings that we defined, but I do have to enable a couple of things in order for this to work. So I'll have to check the box for auto submit. That'll ensure that it automatically gets executed with the broker. And then I'm going to head down to make sure that everything makes sense here. On this Apex account, if I open that one up, let me take a look at it real quick to kind of give you guys a sense of how I'm determining drawdown. I open up my Tradovate account and there is an account section in there. Let me drag this over here so you can see it. And if I open up accounts, you can see that there's this column in the account size section called distance to drawdown. And that's the number that I care about to make sure that I'm setting position size properly. I'm essentially doing 1 contract for every $1,000 of drawdown available to me, up till 5. 5 is kind of my limit for how much I'll take. So the drawdown of these 2 accounts is a little over $1,000. I want to make sure that the quantity is set to 1 on those. So I'm only taking one lot at a time. If the drawdown on one of these was 2,000, for example, I might set the fixed quantity to 2 on those, and that way it trades a little bit larger of size because I have a little more risk to work with. So once this is all set and I feel good about the position sizing for just this one account, I'm going to go ahead and enable it. And then the next thing I'll do is I'll click back on the MNQ strategy and I'll subscribe that second account, which is Apex 56 here. Auto submit and enable. So now if I go back to strategies, I can see I have this MNQ strategy and it has 2 subscriptions, my two Apex accounts available to me. These are both enabled. They're ready for auto submit. I can now send a signal to TradersPost and it will trade those 2 accounts. So what do we mean by a signal? A signal is essentially the order construction telling TradersPost what to trade and how to trade it, along with any other rules you want to send. Now, many of the rules that we set up are in the strategy itself, so we don't really have to send a lot in the JSON in order for this to work. I don't need to send order type or quantity type or a specific quantity. I can set a fixed quantity and send it in, but it's going to be ignored because I'm not listening to the signal in my subscription settings. But there's many ways in which you can use inheritance where you can send a specific rule in the JSON that ignores what's happening in the strategy, or the strategy has a specific rule that ignores what the JSON message says. There's lots of different scenarios on why you'd want to do something like that. It's really up to you as an end user to decide when to set it up and when not to. So I'm going to set up a template here for the MNQ symbol that we're going to buy or sell, but I'm going to replace it with some TradingView placeholders that TradingView uses to send over the data that we're going to need, including things like time and the signal price. Now, because Tradovate doesn't offer market data, we have to send over the signal price in order to ensure that we understand what our entry was, and that will also help us determine slippage. It will help us determine how much P&L we earned, and so on and so forth. So it also needs to be used if you want to send over a take profit and a stop loss. So I always send over price in the JSON message, but I'll add that manually in just a moment.
So you recommend that no matter what, send the signal price over?
I don't see any reason not to. There's not a scenario where it's going to hurt anything. It's always good to just send it over. So, excuse me. I'm going to copy this, and I want to use a JSON editor so that you guys can see how we're actually going to write JSON. You really can choose any JSON editor you want. as long as they aren't going to bother you about pop-ups. And essentially, the reason you want to use a JSON editor is so that it looks for any errors. We have one built into TradersPost as well. And then in about a week here, we'll have the ability for you guys to save these JSON templates as well, and we'll validate the JSON. But right now, as of today, you have to kind of manually write this out. So I'm going to write the JSON message for the buy line, and then we'll write one for the sell line, and we will write one for the exit. So the first thing I'm going to do for this to work on TradingView is replace time with time now. And it has these two curly braces on it, which is one of their placeholders for setting time. I also need to make sure that I add in price or signal price. And you can see that it says the provided input is not valid JSON, and that's because I haven't quite finished typing yet. But once I'm done typing, it will come back and be fixed. So let me do close. That would send over the... There we go. I got to put...
Do you want to go ahead and just in TradingView just to show the edit alert dialog box so people can see where that, if they click on add placeholder, they can see all the different placeholders that are available?
Yeah, you bet. So let's copy this over and we'll finish the message over here. Tom, I'm really regretting getting rid of that trade, man. Look at that.
Really don't regret. Never
really
regret a trade.
Opportunity today. Okay, so we're going to set up our buy signal first, but I'm not going to actually create the alert. I'm actually going to paste this message in the text box of the line. And the reason that I do that is because when I create the alert, it pre-populates the message of the alert from what's in the text. So I'm going to hit OK. And when I hit create alert on that line, price crossing line, you'll see that the message gets pre-populated now. So we have MNQ 2025. We're going to buy. We have the signal price. We have the time. But let me show you what Tom was saying. Here's the placeholders that are available to you. You can send over things like time now. You can send the open, high, low, close. You can send the quote, things like that. For the most part, the only placeholders that I ever really use are interval, the close price, and the time now. Excuse me. So let me actually also send over the interval. We support that on TradersPost as well, so we can send over interval. You can do the add placeholder feature here if you just want to paste in the variable. It's just weird where it places it. You have to kind of like cut it out and then paste it back in properly. Again, we're trying to make this a lot easier. In about a week, we'll have a better interface for managing these messages and then just pasting it right into the box so you don't even have to think about this stuff. All right, so this all looks good. I've got a buy signal. We've got the signal price of close. We got the time now, interval set, the fixed quantity, a quantity of 1, so on and so forth. A lot of this isn't required. You can remove quantity from here or interval if you want. You can not send time. It's just this is extra data that helps us calculate differences for you on the TradersPost platform. I'm going to cancel out of this because I want to go back and set the default text to this properly. So now the default text has the full payload ready to go. What I'm also going to do is create the default text for the sell line, but all I have to do is change the action from buy to sell, and that one's done. And then I'm going to change the one for exit, and I have to change action to exit. Now this right here, this action of exit, this is really important on TradersPost. You don't have to manage your positions on your own on TradersPost. You can basically send an exit signal, and what happens is we look up your position for that ticker with your broker, and they're going to send back what your current contract size is, and we'll exit that position size for you. So that means that I might be in one contract in one account, 2 contracts in another account, 6 contracts in another account, and at the time that I send an exit signal, it looks all 3 of those accounts up, and it exits the correct size for each one. So this makes it really easy to flatten your positions on TradersPost without having to worry about how many contracts to offset. You don't need to know how many to sell. You don't need to know any of that math. All you need to do is send the exit signal and we'll flatten it for you. I need to get rid of quantity type because otherwise it would only flatten by one quantity of 1. So this exit signal is telling TradersPost to exit the entire signal. This would be MNQ exit. Here's the signal price. Here's the time. Here's the interval. This is the full exit payload. So now I have my buy line and my sell line and my exit line, and they have default text already created inside them. I'm going to go ahead and create an alert on the sell line, and that shows the message here. MNQ sell has all the placeholders ready to go. Then I have to go back to my TradersPost dashboard and grab the webhook URL from my MNQ strategy. You can do it from the dashboard. There's a webhook URL button here. You can do it from I think there's a separate associated webhooks page, but honestly, just do it from the dashboard. Grab the, copy the URL here. If you copy this from the screen here, I think we fixed it to where the whole thing is copied and it doesn't copy these stars. Yeah, that is correct. It got fixed. So you want to make sure that it's the full URL and not the obfuscated URL here. And then in my notifications tab, I'm going to paste in that URL under webhook URL. You will have to make sure 2FA is enabled in your TradingView account in order to use this feature, and you have to have a paid account in order for this to work as well. So now I have it to where if price crosses this horizontal line, it's going to send this message, and I'm going to use this webhook URL. Let me go ahead and create my alert, and you can see on the right-hand side that I have an alert prepared. It's set up on crossing this horizontal line. Let me make one for the buy real quick.
You'll notice that it's the text is bright, it's white, showing that it's active. Whereas as soon as it becomes it gets triggered, it'll be a lower opacity. It'll become grayer. So you can you can know if it's on or off or not.
Another feature of TradingView is they remember what webhook URL you used before. You can see this one ends in 6627. And if I look at my dashboard, 6627, I know I have the right webhook URL here. And so I can go ahead and just hit create on the second line. And then when I go to make the third one, hit the alert button again. Here's exit. I can see that the webhook's already created. It just makes making the alert for the other two really, really easy. So now to make sure that I don't send an alert off to TradersPost right away, these lines are obviously really far away from price. So there's very little likelihood that I'm going to trigger these alerts because of how far away they are. But one safety mechanism we have in place for you here is you can go to your strategies dashboard and hit disable on your strategy. And what that does is it makes sure that even if you send a signal to us when this is disabled, like I'm going to do right now, I'm going to drag and drop this price down, or this line down on the current price, the current candle. And you can see in the bottom left-hand corner that this triggered the alert and got sent to TradersPost. If I refresh this signals page, you can see that the signal came in instantaneously and it didn't go to any accounts. And that's because no trades have been executed for the signal because the strategy is disabled. So if I go back to strategies and I enable the strategy, now it will actually send the order through. So I can see that price action is kind of moving upward here. I'm going to go ahead and take a buy on this strategy. We're only trading one in MNQ, so I'm not too worried about it. Might be able to take a little bit of profit off the table as well. I'm going to go ahead and drag the line right above this current candle. So if it continues upward, it's going to go ahead and execute this trade on those two Apex accounts. And you can hear order filled in the background. If I move this, oops.
Oh, I didn't hear order filled, but I could feel it. We all know what that sounds like.
So you can see right away, I've made a few dollars in these two accounts. That sent it through right at the moment that the price was crossed. You could hear almost instantaneously that it made it to the broker and the price was filled. If I look at signals here, I can see 2 of 2 were completed. I actually even had 75 cents of positive slippage, meaning I actually got in a little bit lower than I sent the signal for. The signal price was sent over, the time was sent over, the interval, so on and so forth, and I executed one contract in each account. So now if I'm just watching this trade, if I'm ready to get out of it, or if I want to drag a trailing stop, for example, I can just drag my exit line down. Now my exit line is prepared. It's ready to go to get out of the position. We can watch price continue, or we can even set a take profit up here if we want to. And so if price crosses that line there, we would get out of the position. And there it goes. So it crossed the line, and you could hear in the background order was filled right away. And we made, I don't know, 15 bucks on that trade. So that was it. That was the simple way to set up a strategy on TradersPost, and you can now trade lines in either direction. You can see here on my chart that both of these alerts are now deactivated because the little alert icon is grayed out. But if I move that line again on the current candle, it's going to reactivate and trigger that signal right away. This is also a quirk you need to be aware of. You need to be careful as to where you move the line, because it will trigger the alert right away, especially if you put it on the current candle. Let's look at this candle, for example. Even if I put the line at the top of the candle where price is below, it will still trigger because the active candle sees a price match, and it still triggers the alert. So you'll still need to be careful here about where you actually place the line. If you want it over here, you need to make sure it's far away from the current price.
Is also very important for if you're the type of person who's switching time frames all the time. So let's say you have the line on the chart over here, you have it synced globally, and you switch now from let's say the 1 minute to the 2 hour. If you move the line on the 2 hour chart, it'll be synced to the 2 hour chart. So That's you might actually be in a candle, and it could fire a signal. So you just want to make sure that wherever you're moving that line, that you're only moving it, that you're not within the candle unless you want it to trigger right away.
Yeah, the one thing I look for is I make sure that my alerts are created on the same time frame that I'm currently looking at. And you can see that this exit signal, oops, let me get rid of this buy so I don't accidentally buy. The exit signal, let's put it down here, for example, is on the 1 minute chart. But if I move to, let's say, the 5 minute chart, and I move this line even further down, the alert's going to get recreated, and now it's on the 5 minute chart. So the price and structure of that price that it's anticipating should be on the 5 minute chart. So if to Tom's point, if you're dancing around on the charts, you're changing time frames, you could get a trigger of this price in an unanticipated way. So you just want to be real careful about where you set the alert and what time frame that it's on. All right, so I'm going to do one more type of trade here, and I'm going to add in a take profit and stop loss so that you can see how I can trade from the lines on the chart, but then let the broker execute the take profit and stop loss. So I'm going to go back to strategies here. I'm going to disable my MNQ strategy. And we're going to make a new one, which is going to be our scalping strategy. And this is basically going to be one that is designed to let me decide where to enter, but I'm going to let the broker execute my take profit and stop loss for me. So let me show you how this is going to be done. We'll do bullish or bearish. We will not worry about any of those settings yet. We'll go to position size. Same thing. I'm going to go ahead and fix the quantity to 1. And you can allow add to position. What that would do is it would set an entirely separate order with its own take profit and stop loss. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and disable that. This has use signal quantity enabled. So if I put quantity in the payload, it's going to ignore the fixed quantity that I have defined here. So if you want to override that and make sure that it only uses one type of quantity, then make sure that this is disabled. Excuse me. I'm going to do market orders. Market order for the exit. And now we get to the take profit part. I'm going to do a take profit amount of $10. That's basically 10 points. And that's going to ensure that if the price moves up by 10 points, it automatically exits. Now, the way that TradersPost sets the take profit and stop loss prices is based on the signal price that came in at the time of the alert. So that means that if TradingView shows a signal price of $20,000 even, and by the time the order gets to the broker, it's already at $20,001, then my take profit amount might be off by $1 as well. So just be aware that slippage can have an impact on the take profit and stop loss. I'm going to do a stop market order, and we'll do a stop loss amount of 10. So this is a 10-point take and a 10-point stop, and it's going to automatically be attached based on my settings here. So I'm going to go ahead and save. We'll connect it to this broker, and I'm going to set this to auto submit. Everything is fine here. We'll go ahead and enable this subscription. And so now what I've done is I've created my scalping strategy that has the settings set up to add a take profit and a stop loss. And I've connected one of the accounts to this. So this is going to be a different strategy and a different webhook URL. That means that I kind of have to go through and either make separate lines. Sometimes you may want to have a set of separate lines that are you trade at the same time, for example. These lines could be used for just my simple entry and exit, and then I could have a whole set of separate lines that are meant for my scalping strategy. So this would be scalping, and we're scalping NQ here. It could be long or short. 10 points of take, 10 points of stop have already been set. So this is the strategy 2, and I'm going to make new lines for that. Let me go ahead and delete the alerts that we previously set up for these other lines so I don't accidentally trigger them. And I'm just going to set these lines off to the side. These were for strategy 1, so let me make new lines for strategy 2. We don't need an exit line for this because we have the take profit and stop loss already set. But you can make another exit line, and what that does is it sends the exit signal to the broker, but it also cancels all the open orders and then flattens the position as well. I do have that on my scalping strategy, and that helps me get out of the scalping strategy early if I really need to, if there's some sort of emergency reason to get out. So I'll just for the purposes of demonstration, I'll go ahead and make an exit for this scalping strategy as well. Okay, so I'm going to make these slightly different. We'll make the line type a dashed line, and dashed line, and dashed line. That way I know these dashed lines are for scalping, the solid lines are for my regular smaller size MNQ strategy. And then we need to make the payloads for this one. So I'm going to actually be trading NQ on this, and this will be buy. And I'm going to get rid of the quantity details because I want that managed by the strategy. I don't need any other message inside here because the take profit and stop loss are automatically going to be attached. Now, for the demonstration here, I don't really want to put a huge size or huge lot on. So I'm going to change this to MNQ so it trades the micro instead. And then I can show you that on Tradovate, the take profit and stop loss is attached. And then we'll do another one for the sell. This is just the text for the horizontal line. We haven't even set up the alerts yet. I'm going to keep it on MNQ. I'm going to get rid of the quantity data and make sure there's no comma at the end. And then we'll do one more for the exit. This one's fine. Okay, so the messages might be slightly similar, but obviously what gets executed over here is going to be very different. I only have one account connected, and it has its own take profit and stop loss settings in place. So let's go back to the dashboard for the scalping strategy, and we'll make the alerts. Looks like price is moving up. I think maybe I'll try a buy from here. So let's go ahead and create a buy message, MNQ Buy, and I'll grab the webhook URL for this new strategy. You can see here it has a different ending numbers to it, 4D54. So I'm going to copy that URL, paste that into the message. This is for my scalping strategy. And that all looks good. So the alert is ready, but it's placed way up here. Let me actually make another one for the sell. Make an alert. Price crossing horizontal line only once. It's going to sell MNQ. And the same trading, the webhook URL is already defined here. It ends in the 4D54. Okay, so now if I drag this line down to the current candle, it's going to go ahead and execute that trade for me. So I'm going to go ahead and add the buy, and we're going to see if we can scalp for 10 points. And I'm going to show you the trade on Tradovate right afterwards. So let me execute this. I hear order filled on my side, but let me show you the signal here into TradersPost. We see this incoming trade, and we see that it only affected one of my Apex accounts. And you can also see that we had an incoming price of $23,559.75, which is the price that triggered at the time of the alert. Let me go to the log. 23,559.75. So we built the limit sell and the stop market sell on that incoming signal price. You can see that this is 10 points above and this is 10 points below. If we go to Tradovate and we pull up the MNQ chart, we can see that there is a 10-point take profit and a 10-point stop loss right here. So if price triggers off of this take profit, then it's going to exit this position for us. So we really don't have to worry about exiting this position ourselves, because the position will be exited for us with the broker. So that means that I can, on my chart here, just worry about where I'm getting into the trade and not worry about where the exit's going to be, because I know the broker is going to handle that for me. Should we stick around for the payoff here, Tom?
Well, it's going to guaranteed success, so I might as well.
We made $15 in the last trade. Let's see if we can pick up another.
There we go.
And there it is. Order filled right on the chart. I didn't have to touch anything. All I did is send the order through my strategy on TradersPost. And so that's just another way in which you can trade lines on the chart across multiple prop firms. You could see here that I only set up one Apex account, but in theory, you can add as many as your account plan will allow for. In many of those accounts, it can be as many as 10 or 20 different prop firm accounts, and these all get executed at the same time. One thing that differentiates TradersPost from other platforms is that we are a one signal, multiple account platform instead of a parent-child relationship where you have a leader and follower account. So you send one trading signal like we just did, and it will execute across all those accounts at the same time. If one of those accounts fails for any reason, the other accounts aren't affected. It's sort of like Christmas lights. In the past, you might have one light that goes bad and then they all go bad. In our case, it's like the Christmas lights where one bulb can go bad, but they all stay on. What did I miss here, Tom? And I think that really kind of covers strategy 1, strategy 2, how I can trade 2 different sets of lines on the charts, how to set up the alerts, how to set up the strategy, webhook URLs. Did we miss any parts of the board game here?
No, just a couple of things I would mention is that you can always go to the documentation at docs.traderspost.io if you want more information on any of the properties. Obviously, there's more properties there than we've talked about that you might be interested in. You can also, a little tidbit, add extra information to your JSON message. So if you're trading different strategies or you have some note that you want to tie with the signal so that you're able to filter that later on, you can absolutely do that. I'd also like to mention that you did show here that you're doing this with prop firms, but this is not limited to the prop firm account scaling. You can literally have your prop firm accounts tied to your strategy and then also tie personal accounts, and the signal can be sent to that as well. You can really scale this out in all kinds of interesting ways.
Yep.
You're also not limited to, you can go ahead and if you wanted to, close a position out directly on the prop firm or your broker or what have you, and it wouldn't negatively affect your account or any of the other accounts tied to that strategy. You still have complete control over those accounts personally.
That's a good observation too, Tom. I think maybe let me just actually add another buy order here so you guys can see this. I'm going to execute another one that's going to fill on Tradovate. It's going to fill. It's going to lose the trade right away. Hopefully you can see this real quick though. I can see that I have an open position on TradersPost. And so you can also manually control each account from your dashboard. If you just open up the one that has an active open position, I can close all positions on that particular account without having to work through the strategy. The other option is to go two strategies, head to the dashboard, and you can go ahead and close out of this one long contract here. If I click close position, this is going to send an exit and it will send a trade across all of the subscribed accounts at the same time. So you have the ability to really manage your position from TradersPost as well. And you can do this on a ticker by ticker basis. You can have it only affect one account. You can go to the dashboard and just manage the order directly. Wow, look at that. I'm just on a streak here, winning another trade. You can either manage the position directly on the account from the dashboard or manage all of the accounts from the strategy dashboard. I prefer to do it from this view. This helps me understand all my open orders, how many subscribed accounts are affected. If you have a strategy with lots of subscriptions, you would see them all listed here. Every single account and its current open P&L if they were receiving a signal from that strategy. In this case, you can see that the Apex eval account shows the open P&L, but it's the only one that has an open position, and that's because I sent a trade through a different strategy on that same account. So it is possible to have your account subscribed to multiple strategies at the same time. In this case, this Apex eval account is subscribed to 5 different strategies.
It's also very easy to go ahead and deactivate one of the prop firm accounts if you wanted to. So without having to like undo everything or pause the entire strategy, you can go to that particular account and pause that subscription. Or if for some reason you wanted to deactivate that account from TradersPost, it's just a switch in the back end.
And that's it. So at the end of the day, once I'm finished with my trading session, I just come back here and I disable all my strategies. So that way, even if another signal accidentally got hit or I forgot about a line on my chart and it gets triggered, I don't have to worry about a trade getting executed without my permission. So you can see here, I just drug that line and it came through and it said that it can't send the signal through. Nothing got traded because this strategy is disabled at the moment. So that's it. I think we have a good list of tools that you can use that are at your disposal. You can work with the take profit and stop loss at the broker level. You can add in your own lines. The one thing I probably didn't show here is how you can actually connect this to a more automated strategy. Let's say you're still trading prop firms, but you have, let's say, the super trend strategy, and you want to trade automatically whenever a buy or sell signal gets sent here, in which case, man, today, that one is a really good sell signal. Let's say I want to set that one up. Then here I would just add an alert for the super trend strategy. And the condition could be the buy or sell. Let's say that I'll set one alert up for the super trend sell and one alert up for the buy. And essentially, I'm going to send over a message to go long or go short on MNQ. You can build that message on TradersPost and then send it to the webhook URL. And now anytime that buy or sell condition is made, it's going to get sent over to TradersPost as well. So that's how you basically set up automated strategies from TradingView over to TradersPost, in addition to being able to do discretionary trading.
Awesome. A couple of quality of life things, Mike, in the Objects tab. So if you click on the third icon, perfect, and you click on the objects, I like to group my lines together into a set. So I just command click or control click the different lines, then right click the entire selection, and then I can always group that into my trading signals. Easier to manage. When you're you could technically copy and paste the lines from chart to chart to chart if you want to trade different assets. We do recommend, though, that you do create them manually on that chart. It can be a little bit quirky the way that some of the information gets transferred over.
Agreed.
And then the last thing I would mention is that if you change any settings in your strategy as your position is open, it changes for the settings for signals that come in after the change. So if you're already in a trade, Mike, let's say, and you have a take profit and stop loss that's set, but then you disable that while the trade is still open, that take profit and stop loss will still be there, but a new signal that comes in won't have the take profit and stop loss.
Yeah, so everything on TradersPost is event-driven, which means that anything that's active at the moment is not impacted by any strategy setting changes. It's only when the next event takes place.
Awesome. All right.
One last quirk, occasionally the alerts from TradingView will fail over time. I tend to also delete the alerts as often as possible so that they're recreated and they're fresh and they should work properly once I set them back up. It's one reason why I make sure the text of the horizontal line contains the JSON message so that, again, when I go to recreate the alert, it pre-populates the message from that text. That makes it really easy for me to set down or delete all the alerts on the right-hand side and then recreate them the next morning as I do my pre-market analysis. But that's it. I think that's a good tutorial on how to trade two different trading styles from TradingView. Again, just kind of get used to the process of what we have in documentation. But if you do have other questions about how to set up TradersPost, feel free to reach out to us at support@traderspost.io or join our Discord. There are plenty of people there that can help you with setting things up. Once you get the hang of the JSON messages and the webhook URLs and like how to set up alerts on TradingView, the rest is super, super simple.